Well, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Just wanted to introduce myself and my colleague and talk a little bit about the Teaching ESL and Bilingual Cohort program. I'm Megan Gordon. I am currently the Assistant Director of Offsite Graduate Programs, which up until this week was housed in the School of Education at TCNJ. We're now a more centralized unit as part of our graduate and continuing education efforts. Offsite Graduate Programs runs different programs in education and planning to run across the college at different locations off-site in New Jersey. So running cohorts in schools, partnering with school districts, and also overseas. We have a wing of our business that works with teachers who are working in the international schools. So we've got a lot going on, but we absolutely love cohort programs like this. Tim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Timothy Hall, and I not only do I have duties administering the program, but I also teach in the program too. And Long Branch was one of my most favorite districts to be in.
I always feel like we're never allowed to say which districts were our favorites, but we get together with Long Branch. We kind of can't lie about that. So
we're also being recorded right now. So
yeah. Yes, well, I want to put it on record, so that Long Branch is one of my favorites. So,
and Angelica and Haiti, thank you so much for inviting us to speak with your staff tonight about this program. I'm just going to go ahead quickly and share my screen so we can follow along. Can I just get a quick thumbs up if you can see the presentation? Awesome, thank you so much. All right, so we are really excited. I just want to move this over to talk about the Teaching English as a Second Language and Bilingual program through the College of New Jersey. This is actually one of our longest running programs off-site, both globally and in the state of New Jersey. We've actually been offering this program since the early 1980s. And about 12 or so years ago, we began bringing this into the New Jersey school districts. We're very fortunate right now to have some pretty substantial grant funding, which will allow us to subsidize the cost of these courses. And what we do is we come into the district and run our courses directly to you. I'll talk a little bit more about the logistics in a moment. But I just wanted to take a moment to differentiate the two programs that can either run independently or simultaneously. We offer a certification, either an initial certification for those who may not yet be certified in an instructional area. That may be somebody like an instructional aide or a paraprofessional. That is a 7-course sequence or 21 credits. We also have another program that is intended for already certified teachers who are working on an endorsement in teaching English as a second language. And that's a 5-course or 15-credit program. We also offer bilingual endorsement to already certified teachers. This is geared toward teachers who are proficient in a target language. There are 4 classes, so 12 credits in this program. All of those courses count toward the Teaching ESL endorsement. So I just wanted to highlight that to make you aware that you may choose ESL only, you may choose bilingual only, or you may choose to do them together. You can certainly do them at the same time. What we love about this program is that we are really able to reach teachers in the New Jersey schools very quickly, very efficiently. We've been working with Long Branch for quite some time. We've actually got a cohort in motion right now, and we recognize through our work in the district that there are still a lot of areas that need to be met in terms of meeting English language learners and their families. So we try really hard to make this as simplified and convenient as possible to really encourage you to join the program. We find that if we take some of the barriers out of the way, it makes life a lot easier for you going through the graduate program. The way that we typically run this program is one course per semester. We've really found that this is often the right balance between working full-time in a school, either as a teacher or a paraprofessional, balancing family things at home, and also attending school. So typically speaking, in this program, during each semester, class meets over roughly 12 to 14 weeks, depending on the semester. We try to pick a consistent night. So for example, Tim, I think your Long Branch cohort right now is meeting on Wednesday nights. And the class meets from 5 to 7:30 p.m. online. And we try really hard once we pick a night to try to keep this the same throughout the 5 or 7 courses in the program. Just helps with things like childcare and scheduling, just hopefully makes your life a little bit easier to predict semester to semester. Everything in this program is fully online. We used to, in the olden days, pre-pandemic, we used to actually come out to Long Branch and we were just reminiscing about all of our favorite coffee and food places in the local area. And what we found is, even though we are able now to come back into the district, there's something really nice about being online. Not only does it, cut down on you having to either come back out again or stay late at school, it prevents things like childcare responsibilities, also allows us, if there's space, to potentially bring in some teachers from other districts to join the class. And there's some collaboration that goes on in that sort of model. So right now we are planning on running this next upcoming cohort online. We bring our TCNJ faculty and adjuncts into the district. Quite a few of our adjuncts are actually practicing teachers in the New Jersey schools, so they're bringing their experience and their expertise to Long Branch. We do also have some full-time TCNJ faculty members who teach classes as well, so it's a nice mix. I will talk a little bit about this in a moment, but I just wanted to highlight real quickly that all of the coursework that is completed in the certificate portion of the teaching ESL or the bilingual program is applicable to the master's degree. So for example, those of you who are already certified in an instructional area and would be seeking an endorsement in teaching English as a second language, you would have 5 courses to earn your certificate. You only have 5 more courses to go to earn your master's degree. Those of you who are not yet certified and would be taking 7 courses as part of your initial certification program would only have 3 extra classes to take after the completion of that program to earn the master's. So this program is a really nice jumping off point, helped in great part, we hope, by the cost. Offsite graduate programs has a really nice way of being able to reduce the expenses for our programs. And thanks to this grant that we are very, very grateful to have right now, we have the ability to further subsidize tuition. So the tuition actually comes down to $800 per 3-credit class. I can just give you a little bit of a comparison. That course on campus would be about $2,800. And if taken without grant funding would be about $1,800. So it's a pretty significant savings that we're able to pass along through this grant subsidy. This is a tentative timeline of our program. You can see here that we have some lofty goals right now. We are really hoping to get this next cohort up and running pretty quickly. Because of the grant funding, we have a responsibility to spend a certain amount of money every calendar year. And so because of our timeline, we really would like to get this course set up really over the next couple of weeks. I'm anticipating that the first class, which is our sociolinguistics class, would start either the very end of this month or potentially the beginning of March. And you'll notice that we run 1 class per semester. Again, this really has to do with lots of years of experience of working with practicing teachers who are also taking graduate coursework, and it seems to be the right balance. Tim, do you want to talk a little bit about what these courses look like once you dig in, what each semester brings in terms of the the academic sequence?
Sure, absolutely. So as you can see, primarily the items in gray, ESLM 577, 545, 587, 525, and then a little further down, 578. Those are the core courses that are needed for ESL certification. We do run these like graduate courses. They're not professional development, so you can anticipate upwards of 3, but very often 2 hours of homework each week, in addition to the class time. And as Megan has said, we really have a great mix of folks who are instructing the course, who have been practicing ESL teachers themselves or bilingual teachers. But and many are currently in the field. I'm actually picking up a job as a a grades 4 to 6 ESL teaching position in Trenton this year. So it's going to be an absolute hoot. So needless to say, I have a lot to share. But anyway, from a kind of a preparation perspective, I really feel that the 5 courses that we've landed on and the way we deliver the 5 courses do a really good job of making sure you're actually prepared for the kind of work you need to do. So the first course, sociolinguistics, helps you understand basically societal attitudes towards language, and biases that may exist, help us challenges our biases towards, for example, minority speakers of a language and such. And so it really ties in this issue of language in society, which is really important for thinking about how you want the culture of your school and how you want the culture of your classroom to be inclusive. Language structure deals with things like vocabulary and grammar. And so if you, for example, grew up in the American school system where we don't actually teach that stuff as part of language arts per se, you're actually going to have the opportunity to learn about the structure of the English language. And I would say if I happen to be teaching the course, because a lot of us are bilingual educators, thinking about other languages as well. So it's really about helping you learn to think about language and not just English per se. Curriculum and methods, as the title suggests, helps you kind of sort of develop a big picture of the kinds of foundational concepts and processes in terms of thinking about curriculum for language learners. And I'm currently teaching that course for, who am I teaching it for? I'm teaching it for Long Branch again. I only just met everybody last night, so.
I can't keep you away.
No, apparently not. Yeah, so the way I'm actually running this course, it's a lot of group projects because we found that in the online environment, obviously lecturing just kills everybody's attention span and makes for a very unproductive time. So we run a lot of group projects in this course. One of the big things I have folks do is develop first an adult ed curriculum, because very often school districts are going to run adult programming at night, and very often the daytime ESL teachers end up picking up a little bit of extra work that way. It's also very helpful because working with an adult ed curriculum frees us up from a lot of the complications that we have to manage in K-12 environments. So things like having to deal with standards and having to deal with content, which are complicating factors in curriculum and development, really just helps us think about some very core issues in a somewhat simplified way. We then take those core issues, and then we later run what we call a content-based co-curriculum, where we start basically taking, for example, a math unit or a social studies unit and developing as an ESL teacher would, developing language lessons or a curriculum off of the content that the content teachers might be working with. So second language acquisition theory helps folks understand what the timelines of development are in a realistic perspective. The key point I like to make is between the time you teach it and the time the learner learns it is about 10 months. So timing of instruction and timing of acquisition are not the same. And it's issues like that we help you think about in terms of setting expectations for what the learning process is. And then theory and practice is the final course, and we really dive into some nitty-gritty issues, very often in terms of content-based language teaching in particular. So it's, I think, one of the great things about this particular program offsite compared to the campus-based program is that we have a nice structured progression of courses. I always like to throw shade on the campus program, where you can take any old course at any old time you want, but the problem is then there's a whole bunch of assumed prior knowledge that you may or may not have. Whereas in this offsite program, we actually get to build that prior knowledge step by step through the coursework, and every instructor knows every course you've had before and is ready to build off of that rather than to work redundantly. So it's really a strength to that. So, and that's all I have to say.
That's great. And I think that's one benefit of the cohort model. And we'll talk a little bit more in a few moments about that. But, you know, this group can be learning together, and the faculty are relatively connected. They understand the groups really well. We try not to have the same instructor teach every single course, because there should be some diversity in instruction. But being able to build on that knowledge is something that we see differently in the cohort model than we do in our either on campus or other offsite programs too.
So thank you.
I just want to mention real quickly, you know, anybody, I don't know if there's anybody on this call who is a pre-service teacher, paraprofessional, or instructional aide. You'll notice that there are courses with 2 asterisks. Those are the courses that would be required for initial certification. One is a language and literacy class, which is a regular class. And then the other is a 2-part clinical experience where you would actually be doing your student teaching. And if there's anybody on this call or anybody in the district who is interested in going for initial certification, we can talk separately about how that may work and how you can, you know, hopefully work in the district as you're doing that, but that would be something that we could discuss with administration too. So we've given you a lot of information about what this program looks like, the timeline, the cost, et cetera. I just want to talk real quickly about next steps. You know, we hope that you'll join us. We hope that we're able to get a cohort up and running. This would be our 3rd go around in the district. After I stop sharing my screen, I'm going to share a link with you for our pre-registration form. This is the form where we'll really get a chance to see how many people are interested in the program and determine if we're able to run or if we need to add in teachers from other districts. As I mentioned, it's a pretty quick turnaround. We are hoping, because of our grant spending expectations, to get a course started this spring. Therefore, I'm asking everybody to please complete the pre-registration form no later than February 10th. What that will do is it will allow my office to turn around very quickly and provide instructions for matriculation. I do want to mention that we have reduced application requirements for this program. We really do try to cut down on some of the administrative processes so that you can focus on your coursework, you can focus on bringing that knowledge back into your district. So when it's time to matriculate into the program, you will just need to complete an online application, submit a copy of your resume and a copy of your undergraduate transcript, and also a copy of your teacher certification if you are already an in-service teacher. There's no fee, there's no essay, there's no test scores, there's no letter of recommendation. So there are some major benefits to coming in through the cohort model instead of a traditional model. One thing I'm just going to throw out there right now, because I'm anticipating that it may be an issue. Because of the tight turnaround between filling out the pre-registration form and us getting you up and set up for your first class, there's a possibility that I may ask you to do what's called a visiting student application in lieu of the application for matriculation for your first class. That still means that you'll need to apply for matriculation, but it allows TCNJ to get you set up really quickly with a PAWS ID number. And then what happens is we register you on our side. And every time we register you for a cohort class, you'll receive a confirmation email, which will outline how you access the TCNJ systems. It'll let you know exactly when your course will meet, and the start date and the finish date. And it'll also provide you with information about the cost for the class and instructions on how to pay that through PAWS. So, first step is just that pre-registration form, which I will send over to you via the chat, and I'll also follow up after the call with an email. I just want to jump ahead to the end of the program and walk you through the steps of how this actually works to transition you from a student taking the coursework to actually going to the state of New Jersey for either initial certification or endorsement. So what we will have you do as you approach the end of the program is you will apply for graduation. There is no fee to do this because it is a certificate program. Also, during that same semester, we will make sure that you have access to, if you have not already taken it, the OPI and the WPT. The ACTFL exam is required in the state of New Jersey for certification in lieu of a praxis exam, but we'll make sure that you get that set up. Anybody who's taken it previously would not need to retake it if they had passing scores. We will then walk you through the process with our certification office, making sure that you fill out all of the correct paperwork for the state of New Jersey. And then because you're coming from a TCNJ program, TCNJ actually sends your materials over to the state of New Jersey. Other good news is that the grant pays for the certification fee, it pays for the ACTFL testing fee. So there are quite a lot of financial benefits as you're going up for certification. I just want to zoom real quickly through a couple of questions that we typically get, and then I'd love to open it up to any questions that you might have. Probably the biggest question that we get is, am I eligible for financial aid in this program? And the short answer is yes, but the long answer requires that you are matriculated in a program of study. So you actually apply for matriculation in the teaching ESL or the bilingual program. But you do need to be registered in any given term. When you'd be receiving aid, you would need to be registered for a minimum of 2 graduate classes. And you'll notice from the schedule that I shared a couple of moments ago, we are only planning on offering 1 course per semester, just in line with our grant funding and what we think works for working teachers. If financial aid is of interest to you, there are a couple different solutions. The first solution that we usually suggest is taking another class that could potentially be applied for the master's degree. I'll just mention real quickly, the master's degree is an additional 5 courses for those in the endorsement program. And there's no problem if you're thinking about doing the master's program down the line, doubling up in a semester and taking a master's course at the same time. That way you would be eligible for financial aid. You'd be increasing your credits that way. But if it looks like that's an issue or a concern, that's something we can talk together about and come up with a creative solution if we need to. Another question that we get a lot is, what happens if I have to miss a course? There are a lot of benefits to the cohort model, really in that you're learning as a group and you're influencing your district as a group as you're going through this process. We completely recognize, though, that life happens and there are times when you might not be able to take a certain semester's course. We have a couple different solutions for this. The first is you'd be more than welcome to join up with another cohort. Sometimes different cohorts start at different times, different terms. So if there's a cohort that has a spot available and they're running online, you'd be more than welcome to join us. Another option, probably a little bit less convenient for you, would be coming to campus, the TCNJ main campus in Ewing, and taking a course on campus. The third option would be joining offsite graduate programs through either our global in-person in Portugal, if you'd like to come join us there during the summertime, or online during the academic year and in the summertime. I will mention, though, that the costs are higher both for offsite graduate programs globally and also on campus. At this point, we cannot guarantee if the grant funding can be applied to that. So I just want to put that out there as something to think about. Oops, bear with me for 1 second. As we talked about, you are more than welcome to join us for master's programming. The total of 10 courses in the master's program, so the certificate is really nested nicely within. The grant, we get the question a lot of, is the grant subsidy applicable for the master's? And unfortunately, it's not. The grant is really for the purpose of training and certifying teachers in the state of New Jersey. And I know Tim spoke to this already, but something I just like to review is that we try to make this program as accessible as possible, really to fit into your world. It is definitely a rigorous graduate program. It sort of feels a little bit like professional development because of the convenience, but there is definitely a commitment and some rigor involved that might not be involved in other programs. If that's a concern, we always are happy to share copies of syllabi before classes so you can review and let us know. We do, definitely deal with some level of melt after, the first couple of weeks of the first class, but certainly stay in touch with your instructor if something seems to be more time consuming than you were expecting it to be, and we can talk about whether or not it's the right fit. But we have found, and I don't even know our count, Tim, at this point. I think we've served about 500 teachers through the grant, and it's been workable for working teachers. So we try to make it as down to earth as possible.
Not just workable, but enjoyable.
Workable and enjoyable. Absolutely workable and enjoyable. Ebony, thanks so much for your question. I am going to share that in the chat in a couple of moments. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a moment, but we'd love to open it up to any questions that you have, either generically or specifically. We can hang on and talk a little bit afterwards. What I am going to do as we're answering questions is I am going to send you an information sheet, which really is an overview of what we talked about tonight. And it also has at the end, under next steps, a pre-registration link and some steps that you'll follow if you'd like to join us. But can I answer any questions for anybody? Oh, quiet group tonight.
Hi, everyone. I did read a question in the chat, and it was if they, can qualify while on maternity leave. I will have to follow up with personal, so we cannot really come up with the accurate answer for your questions. So I wrote it down, and I'm going to make sure I come back to you with that answer.
Thank you, Haiti.
I have a question. This is part of Megan and my shtick. I come up with these questions that we already know the answers to, but just to help conversation along. So typically, what's the timeline when you finish the program in terms of completing academic requirements to actually getting the certification in hand? Is that a great question?
That is a very, very good question.
Thank you. Yeah.
So typically, and you're all teachers here. You've all worked with the New Jersey Department of Education. It's actually not as long as you would expect. So let's say, for example, in this program, we'd be looking at a summer 2024 completion for those of you who are just working on the 5 courses. You would actually, even though the course would happen in May and June, you would be an August 2024 graduate, which would mean that your paperwork would be sent to the state probably mid to late September 2024. We typically say leave about 6 to 8 weeks before the certification is completed in the NJDOE. So, we're looking at November probably, and that's really just because there's a little bit of a lag time after which you finish the course and the next cycle for graduation takes place. Good question, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add out there that Long Range will still cover that 80% of your tuition reimbursement. You will have to, pay ahead, and then you'll be reimbursed once the class is over. So if everything works okay, and you commit to the deadlines, the courses might end up being free on your side. Again, you'll have to commit to the deadlines to be able to qualify.
And is there a grade point average that has to be maintained in order to have reimbursement? I know that in some districts there is a rule, in other districts there's not.
You just great. Sorry, Ms. Hernandez, was that you?
Yeah, B+, like a beer higher. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I am happy to hang on for a while after the call. If anybody has any specific questions, I know sometimes we get questions about transfer credit from other institutions. If it's a more unique or personal question, feel free to hang out with us for a little while. I'm going to go ahead one more time. I noticed that the document that I shared previously, it might have been locked for you, so I just opened it up. I've sent the link through again. I will be following up by email tomorrow, just so you have everything in one place, as well as the recording from our session today. But Tim and I are always accessible by email. Certainly Angelica and Haiti can help us to answer any questions, but we really hope that this program is of value to you. We hope that the price is right with the grant funding, and we look forward to working with as many of you as possible.
Thank you for hosting tonight, Megan.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I hope this time worked well for everybody.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you so much.
Of
Yeah,
course.
it did work well. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Take care.
It was interesting to see the Zoom
The
close.
first and the second link are the ones that we both have that we have to fill out, or
No, so it's actually the same. It brings